What happened in 2020? Hello, welcome back to After Hour Happy Hour. We are your chaotic but cathartic co-host. I'm Vicky.
I'm Jamila.
I'm Sharon.
So if you guys are enjoying our podcast so far, we really appreciate it if you leave us a review, a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Instagram for more behind the scenes, because trust us, you don't want to miss those.
Just a quick disclaimer that just because a new year is starting, it doesn't mean that everything is normal. Still wear a mask, still stay safe when you go out, and make good decisions. But this podcast will be talking about the goals that we do have when things are normal.
Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to be talking about 2020 as a recap. Since we're in the last month of 2020 and 2021 is coming up, we're just going to be talking about how the year went, little questions we have for each other, and just chat about what we thought of the year and what's to come for next year. Let's get started.
Okay, I will kick off our chat today. So the first question is, what was your favorite/least favorite thing about 2020? Or what do you think was the best or worst thing that came out of 2020?
I'll start with the best thing. I think the best thing that happened is I got to spend a lot of time with my family. And not just immediate family, but like cousins and uncles. So I have family who live in Arizona. And because of COVID, I was able to literally just move there for 2 months and not have to worry about anything. And so I went and lived in Arizona for 2 months, and I saw my uncles and cousins more during those 2 months than I did my whole entire life. So that was kind of interesting. Worst thing. Wow, there's so many worst things. Dude, canceled plans. We were supposed to go to Hawaii. I was thinking about that last night. We were supposed to go to Hawaii and we couldn't. But yeah, that's one worst thing I'm going to say, not being able to travel together, because I was looking forward to that.
You had 12 months in a year and you named 3 things.
She named 2 things.
She said family and traveling. Oh, you said 2 things.
She can't count.
But best thing and then worst thing. Okay, continue. Maybe I'll just hop back in after you guys say yours.
So my favorite thing is probably also spending more time with family or being home, just because in particular, I was kind of moving all over the place last year. I was in Seattle for 3 months and then I studied abroad for 3 months. So I guess spending more time at home. Honestly, as an introvert, being home all the time is not bad. I'm not socially dying. I know some other people are. I have my stages where I want to go out, but I'm doing okay for the most part. And I picked up reading a lot. So I feel like, since we just graduated, we would have been traveling a lot, doing all these other things. But I feel like I really got time for myself to pick up these things. And then 2 other small things. One, I hella got into my culture. So I watched my first K-drama, got into my first K-pop group. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. And then the second side note is I really got into skincare, and I'm on the road to clear skin. So my least favorite is probably not being able to travel. I know we had a lot of travel plans, and then obviously the whole COVID situation and how things kind of hit the fan.
So let's just start with the worst things that came out of 2020. Honestly, I didn't have that many. But number 1, my freaking acne or hormonal imbalance. Homegirls start breaking out, and then literally my hormones are on a roller coaster, and I don't know what's up, and my emotions go out of place. The heck? And then Sharon, being an introvert, she was like, oh, she actually kind of enjoys home, but I've been really strict with quarantine, so I haven't really seen anyone. And I'm going, blah, not seeing people made me realize how much of a people person I am, and not just being around anyone, but being around people that I actually want to. And I realized that I don't ever want to live alone. I want housemates. The next thing is also what Vicky and Sharon were saying about how we missed out on traveling, because I had a lot of travel plans. I literally had a lot of plans from like spring until end of summer, but that all got canceled. But on the flip side is that I never had more time to think and reflect for myself, which I think was actually a really good thing, because I was really able to slow down and kind of plan out what I want to do and my goals and how I'm gonna get there. And I mean, one thing is we really took this quarantine and started our podcast, and we all kind of went on this road to content creation, and not just with our podcast, but maybe with our individual selves. So that's been fun. And then overall, I think having a stronger or more right mindset when you're working towards goals, like whether it's in fitness or your work, or I just picked up dance again, and progress and consistency. I've never felt harder with those terms until this quarantine. And the last thing is really just meeting the love of my life, Mr. Mark Kwan.
Wait, yeah, I definitely flopped on planning in advance, because how could I not give a shout out to our podcast? We mentioned before, we always joked about starting one, and the fact that we actually made it happen is probably one of the biggest highlights of 2020. So hopefully people out there think so too.
Dude, I was telling Sharon about this, but me and Sharon, one time last year in 2019, there was a night we were both going through it, and we were like, let's just write down like current goals and maybe like stretch goals. So stretch goals meaning goals that we really, really want to achieve, but it's kind of seems like out of reach. And so we wrote it down, and then the other day I pulled out that list and I realized one of my stretch goals was making a podcast. And now we're here making a podcast. So,
Yeah, I told Vicky I haven't opened it, so I don't know what's on my list, but I know podcast was one of them. And it was also like a long-term goal. So the fact that we're already a month into this is kind of crazy. So kudos to us, guys.
Yay! Okay, well, that was some of our favorite things and least favorite things that came out 2020. But now that we're hitting the end of it, what do you guys think was your biggest takeaway in this year?
dude, how much I enjoy solitude. I always wanted to test the idea of like how much alone time can I take? Because I feel like I have a very high tolerance for being just by myself and entertaining myself, but I didn't expect how much of an extent I can do that. There's time periods where I didn't leave my house for around like 2 weeks and I was fine. Didn't see anyone, didn't really interact with people besides my family, and I didn't feel like cabin fever. And so that was very surprising, and a good takeaway was how much I can just sit and think and be by myself.
Try doing it for 4 months and then tell me if you're really into that. I am sick and tired of the solitude thing. I'm over it.
What was the question? Biggest takeaway. I think this podcast is really good proof that if you set your mind to wanting to do something, you can do it. It just takes research and, a little risk, but YOLO.
I mean, it's also when we talk about our goals, like one day we're gonna want to work at this place and stuff like that. It used to be things that we were thinking super stretch goals. But I think this quarantine has given us time to slow down and really think about each step of how we can actually get there.
Yeah, going off of that, I think my biggest takeaway is definitely this year was meant to be a huge learning curve for everyone if you're in the right mindset to think that way, I guess. So, for example, in college, I thought, oh, these 4 years are the best 4 years of your life. But now that I'm graduated and I guess we learned a lot through quarantine, I'm excited for what's to come now. I feel like these are our prime years and you really can achieve things that you put your mindset to. And I feel like I just learned a lot about myself. Also, a lot of things happened in 2020 and it really taught me a lot in terms of like politics or things that are going on in the world that I should care about that I didn't really care about prior. So the fact that I take proactive steps to learn about what's going on or just read the little things day by day, I think really helped me in the long run. So I think those are my biggest takeaways.
I think to add on that, more on a global scale outside of us three, a good takeaway that I've gotten is the power of community. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, but just seeing everything happen politically and like all these movements that are happening and all of that being led by just community of people, and also the power of kind of social media and how much we've taken in from social media this past year and all the things that we've learned is mainly through social media. And I feel like this whole quarantine and all these movements have really shined a lot of light on these topics that normally before we wouldn't have been aware of. And so that's a good takeaway.
Yeah, see, that's why I'm such a strong believer in everything happens for a reason. Can you imagine if this happened when we were like 10 or like 45? It would have been such a different experience. So, yeah.
My takeaways are pretty similar to Sharon's. I think post college is really the first time you have absolute freedom to make all your choices, and it's entirely up to you on how you want to make those choices. So for us, we decide to pursue a podcast or we start picking up reading again. So from that, I feel like my biggest takeaway is just that from graduation till now, every part of my life, like I have control over it for the most part. And I can actively take steps to reach my goals. And then another takeaway is also friendships. So as anyone who knows me, I've been completely basically off the map. I think I've been better lately, but from the first 6 months of quarantine, I think I was pretty inactive. And I think everyone's like, where the hell is Jam? But from this, it also made me realize and be really appreciative of how strong some of my friendships are. Because I've always known and is a believer that strong friendships don't only come from having like daily communications or having to see each other every day. It could literally be friendships that you don't even see each other in 4 years, but the bond is still there. But from this quarantine, when I like kind of became active again and started to, I guess, like be more social, it just made me realize how strong some of these friendships are, and it made me really appreciative of that. And when things get normal again, I definitely want to be less off the map and hang out with people more.
Adding on to that, I feel like I've also tried to reach out to people more that I normally wouldn't do because of quarantine. I think because I realize now, don't take people for granted and enjoy the time that you have with the people that you have. I have made it a conscious decision to reach out to people more just for the sake of catching up and like making sure they're okay or just seeing how they're doing instead of reaching out only when there's a need for something, because that has also, I feel like, opened a lot of doors for me and connected me with a lot more people that I thought I wouldn't, especially post college.
Yeah, see, I kind of do that too, but then I just get lazy after like 3 days, and then I just forget to reply, and then I just stop replying, and I'll just hit them up randomly again, like, "Hey, what's up? How's it going?"
Dude, same. Sometimes I'm like that too. I feel kind of bad.
I'm like, please don't take offense to anyone who hasn't replied.
Yeah, I know.
I was going to say, I also really appreciate how everyone realized it's okay to slow down. We're kind of forced to do that in 2020, but I feel like a lot of people realize it's okay. Don't get so wrapped up in your life. Take the time that you need to slow down and reprioritize what goes on in your life. And so I think I really appreciated that. And what I was saying about everything happens for a reason, I strongly believe that history kind of repeats itself, or some things repeat every decade or every like 50 years or something, so that it's a reminder to people, oh, wait, these are the things that matter in your life. Reprioritize, reorganize, and have a low every now and then so that you remember what a real good high is or what it feels like. So I think I really appreciated that aspect of 2020.
I genuinely believe that quarantine, COVID, all these things happen for a reason, obviously, but also because with the pace that we were going before, our world would have collapsed in some way or something would have happened that's dramatic and like really bad. And so COVID happened to put a break on that. And that's why I'm like, it sucks that so many lives were taken and so many bad things happened, but at the end of the day, COVID happened for a reason.
Yeah, I also think quarantine was really how you make of it. Obviously, if a person went to quarantine and stay in quarantine with a mindset like, I just want this to end, like, I'm so sick and tired of this, I don't think they would have really benefited from, quarantine. But I think for all three of us and probably a lot of people out there, we just kind of accepted it and made the best of the situation and try things that we didn't try before or look into other opportunities. And I think that was really beneficial for us as 20-something-year-olds who just graduated, try to figure out like what they want to do and taking this next step into adulthood.
Yeah. I think we really realized, what are these things and habits and people that I want in my life? And what are some things maybe I reevaluated whether I need them in my life or not? So, segue into the follow-up question. What do you want to leave in 2020 versus what do you want to take with you?
I'll go first. I want to leave my acne and my body fat in 2020, and I want to take Mark Twain away with me in 2021.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
What I want to take with me is I feel like I've been more grateful for everything. Like, even after meals with my family, I normally before I didn't say thank you or I didn't say, oh, thanks for cooking, things like that. But I want to take that gratitude with me into forever, like the rest of my life, just never not being thankful for things. Would love to take Jackson Wang into 2021 too. Don't want to leave that one behind. Actually, one more thing I want to take into 2021 is reflecting a lot. I think before I did reflect a lot, but not as much as I did during quarantine. Obviously, I had so much time, but I don't want to forget to do that more when things are normal again. And then what I want to leave behind, procrastination. Actually, I'll take that with me. That's fine. I could live with procrastination.
Okay, I'll give a little more serious one. Okay, what I want to leave behind is still acne and body fat. I want to leave that behind. I don't want that shit anymore. What I want to take into 2021 is definitely my continuation with fitness. I've never been more educated and knowledgeable about fitness, about like living a healthy lifestyle. So I want to continue that and be more disciplined with myself when it comes to fitness. And also this year, I started journaling a lot more, just being more in touch with my emotions. Because for a long time, I just kind of was like, okay, I feel this way, blah, blah, blah. But now I really take the time out and kind of just write, or I usually just type because I'm too lazy to write. I just type out what I'm feeling. If I'm feeling sad, if I'm feeling happy, I just let it all out because it's just also a good way for me to let it out. And maybe that's why you guys haven't been hearing me complain about solitude that much, because I just let it out in like a journal. So I want to continue these habits that I built in 2021 and take it to a next level.
I think what I want to take with me is the mindset that I have. I think I took pride in being open-minded in the past, but I think 2020 really taught me to be even more open-minded or see things from every angle or perspective. I want to take that as a growth mindset into 2021. And things that I want to leave behind is kind of like my perfectionism. I think I will always be a perfectionist, but to an extent, I feel like that is an aspect of my Achilles heel, kind of. So in the past, I would be like, for example, I'm not going to start a fitness channel or something because I'm not knowledgeable as much as I should be, or because I don't look a certain way, which is really stupid because it's all part of the growth. What's the point of starting something if you're already perfect at it, kind of thing? So even with this podcast, it taught me a lot to kind of loosen up and not be so picture perfect all the time because that's boring. So I want to leave that in the past and then take forward with me, I guess, more like self-confidence and trust in myself. So I think this podcast and everything that we've been pursuing content creation wise and individual stuff has really taught me a lot. So looking forward to next year.
Okay, to add on to what I want to leave behind, I think Sharon just triggered something. But to add on to what Sharon said, something that I want to leave behind in 2020 is also self-doubt and that low self-confidence in myself, because especially with this podcast, it's like good evidence that if you really set your mind to doing something, you could always do it. And I think for myself, what holds me back the most is the self-doubt. And I feel like especially December, I've gotten over that hump of, oh, I can't do it. Instead, I'm just like, even if I can't, let me just try. And so I want to take that into 2021 and leave self-doubt in 2020.
Me too, buddy.
So we kind of touched a little bit on goals for ourselves going into 2021, but let's talk a little about goals for our podcast, what we kind of want to showcase to our listeners when 2021 comes around.
Well, one of the biggest things that I mentioned in the really beginning, aka our first episode, was that I really want us to do videos. And that's something I really want us to tackle in 2021. I think we have a lot of good video ideas already. Or there's a lot of times where we're thinking, oh my God, we could totally do a video about this. Can't wait to do this. And I really hope we could put that into action in 2021.
To add on to what Jam said, I think another goal I want for our podcast is to be recognized more. I wanted to credit all of us for how much work we have put into this podcast, whether it's planning topics, the background work, the logistics of everything. I think we spend a lot of time on this. And so moving forward in 2021, I do want to push more for really getting recognized for what we do and pushing our podcast beyond just friends, maybe like people outside of our friends, mutuals of mutuals, things like that.
Yeah, piggyback off of that, I want to mention that in 2021, at least for me personally, but I think all of us, we want to push more content social media wise. So, we're getting a TikTok for our podcast to show you guys more behind the scenes stuff or more into our daily lives. That's what I'm really excited for, along with, for example, reels on Instagram or just more fun things with our socials. So that's what I'm looking forward to. And hopefully through that, new listeners can also hop on that and discover us. So I'm looking forward to that aspect as well.
And I'll add one more thing. As a personal goal for myself in this podcast is getting better at editing. And I know right now we're all on Zoom call, but when we do produce videos, I just want to make those more fun and add elements that's just beyond a video so the viewers could enjoy it. So I've been kind of looking into how to do a little bit more editing and also how to make TikTok videos. And honestly, TikTok videos are a skill in itself and it's so hard.
So next question, what are 3 things you miss most about normal life and or what are you most excited for when things are normal again?
So there are 3 things I'm most excited for the year 2021. Number 1, for us to reunite. Number 2, to see people. Number 3, to go to a GOT7 concert.
Okay. So the 3 things that I think I miss the most, 1, live music. I think especially 2020, I've gone really, really, really into music and just finding artists and songs that I really resonate with. And so after quarantine and COVID, I feel like I'll go to better concerts that I actually love and not just because my friends are going to a concert. um, and then another thing I miss, obviously, us 3 together. I have to say it just because I want to guilt Sharon into coming to the Bay so we can be together. So us 3 together, please. I miss those 2 things. Yeah.
So 3 things that I miss the most about random everyday life is I really miss going to coffee shops. I feel like us 3 used to just book it to a coffee shop and do work all the time. So I can't wait for the day we can do that and just edit our podcast or plan content creation together at a coffee shop. 2, same with Vicky, I also really, really miss live music events. So I can't wait to go back to those. And 3, I miss going to the gym. So those 3 things are what I miss about normal life, apart from, seeing you guys and seeing people in general.
So are we not part of your normal life?
Honestly, at this point, we haven't seen each other in a year, so
we weren't even relevant enough to make it.
I said coffee shop with you guys, live music obviously with you guys, gym. If you guys would like to go with me, that'd be great. But yes, with you guys too.
So come to the Bay. She's like, no. Okay, that's a good segue into my next question is, now that we kind of touched on what we did miss about normal life, let's talk about what we will miss about quarantine once things become normal again.
Honestly, won't miss too much because I think I have a good idea of how I want to use my time going into 2021. But the only thing that I think I'll miss is kind of being forced to be more disciplined about my diet and fitness because I'm not going out as much. So I have the option to eat healthier at home. I have the option to, gym consistently every day because, when things are normal, you might go out with your friends and you might stay out at night, and that kind of messes up your schedule a little bit. So quarantine has given me a very solid schedule.
I think I have two things, or maybe three, that pop up right at the top of my head. One, I actually will miss, I think, the routine that I have. I can obviously have a routine once normal life returns, but I stick to a schedule of, I guess, working out in the morning, then I work, and then I set some time to like edit or read books or whatever, whatever. And especially because I'm a very organized, routine person, I think I'll miss that aspect of quarantine. Two, I think I will miss a part of work from home because it's kind of nice to not sit in 40-minute commute traffic or, waking up to get ready to go in. I could just kind of roll out of bed and do work. So that aspect I will miss. And then three, people can't do things right now because of quarantine. And so sometimes you get roped into doing things you don't want to do. So that aspect I will miss, that I have my freedom, I guess, to not go out or not do things. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could only think of two, but Sharon kind of touched on this, but I'm going to miss having an excuse to not go out. Always when all my friends are like, oh, let's go on a hike or let's go get boba, we could just sit in the car and stuff. Always I'm like, bro, COVID. Like, I live with my parents. I don't know if you're clean. I don't even know if I'm clean. There's so many things that could happen just by going out. So always having an excuse of, no, I'm staying at home. I think once things normalize, I'm going to miss having that excuse.
Dude, I never felt that harder because I used the excuse, dude, I can't. My mom said no to my coworkers.
Yeah. Dude, all the time I'm like, I don't think my parents would be comfortable with that, so no.
I mean, it's not an excuse, it's a truth, but I can't believe at 22-year-old post-grad with a full-time, I'm using the reasoning of my mom said no to my coworkers.
That's actually kind of funny because with your friends, it's fine. Your coworkers, kind of weird. The second thing that I would miss is all the time that I have. I think I have so many plans on learning stuff because I have so much time. But once COVID is gone and things are normalized, I feel like I will feel this need to go out and do stuff. So I won't have much time to do personal stuff.
So those were the few things that we each will miss in the year of 2020 and our quarantine life. But, with that being said, we are super excited for 2021 with our individual goals, our individual plans, as well as our group plans and goals. So let us know what your 2021 will look like, or how has your 2020 been. And until our next episode, we are wishing you a very happy new year, and we'll see you guys soon. Bye!
Bye.